I never believed in fate or chance encounters or any of that romantic nonsense until the night an Uber driver named Cassian cancelled my fare and told me that talking to me was worth more than the money. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like the opening line of some cheesy movie or a story someone made up for internet points, but I swear on everything I have, this actually happened to me, and it changed my entire life. It was a Friday night in late September, one of those perfect autumn evenings where the air has just enough chill to feel refreshing, but not cold. I'd been out with co-workers at a bar in downtown Portland, celebrating the end of a brutal project that had consumed the last 3 months of my life. I'm a software developer, which means I spend most of my time staring at screens and talking to computers, not people. Social situations have never been my strong suit. I'm the guy who stands in the corner at parties, nursing the same beer for 2 hours, checking my phone every 5 minutes like I'm waiting for some urgent message that never comes. That night, I'd actually tried. I'd laughed at jokes, participated in conversations, even told a story about a bug in our code that somehow got people laughing. But by 11, I was exhausted. That kind of tired that comes from pretending to be more extroverted than you actually are. I said my goodbyes, slipped out while everyone was distracted by karaoke, and pulled out my phone to request an Uber. The app said 4 minutes. I stood on the corner, watching the little car icon navigate through the grid of streets toward me. The city was alive around me. People spilling out of bars and restaurants, laughter echoing off brick buildings, the distant sound of live music from somewhere down the block. I felt separate from all of it, like I was watching life happen through a window. When the black Honda pulled up, I checked the license plate against the app, confirmed it was my ride, and climbed into the back seat. That's when I first saw him. The driver. Cassian. Even now, months later, I can close my eyes and see exactly how he looked in that moment. He had dark hair that was slightly too long, falling across his forehead in a way that suggested he'd been too busy to get it cut, but somehow made it work. Sharp jawline, olive skin, and these eyes that caught the streetlight when he turned to confirm I was his passenger. Deep brown, almost black, with this intensity that made my breath catch. "Michael?" he asked, and I nodded, suddenly unable to form words. His voice was warm, with a slight accent I couldn't immediately place. Mediterranean, maybe, or Middle Eastern. "Yeah, that's me," I managed, buckling my seatbelt and trying not to stare at him in the rearview mirror. He pulled away from the curb smoothly, and for the first few minutes we drove in silence. I stared out the window, watching the city slide by, very aware of his presence in the front seat, aware of his hands on the steering wheel, long fingers, no ring, aware of the way he hummed softly along to the music playing low on the radio, some indie song I didn't recognize. "Long night?" he asked, catching my eye in the mirror. "Work thing," I said, celebrating finishing a project. "Ah, what kind of work?" "Software development. Nothing exciting." He laughed, and the sound did something strange to my chest. "I doubt that. Building things from nothing but logic and creativity. That's pretty incredible if you think about it." I blinked, surprised. Most people's eyes glaze over when I mention what I do. "You're the first person who's ever described it that way." "Well, I'm a philosophy major, so I think about everything too much." Occupational hazard. He merged onto the highway, and I noticed how confidently he drove, how comfortable he seemed in his own skin. "Let me guess. You're tired of the party, but also kind of lonely?" The observation was so accurate, so unexpected, that I actually laughed. "Is it that obvious? I drive people around every weekend. You learn to read the energy. Plus, you left at 11 on a Friday night. Either you're tired of people or you have an early morning. You don't have the early morning look." "What's the early morning look?" "Anxious. Checking your phone." You look contemplative, thoughtful, like you're processing something. I didn't know what to say to that. He'd read me in 5 minutes better than co-workers I'd known for years. You're very observant. Comes with the territory. Also, I'm procrastinating on my thesis, so I've been driving a lot, talking to a lot of people. It's easier than confronting my own thoughts sometimes. What's your thesis on? The philosophy of connection in an increasingly disconnected world. How technology promises to bring us together, but often leaves us feeling more isolated. I know. Super original, right? There was self-deprecation in his voice, but also genuine passion. Actually, that sounds fascinating, I said, and I meant it. I leaned forward slightly, drawn into the conversation in a way I hadn't been all night. I think about that a lot. How I can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. He was quiet for a moment, and I watched his reflection in the mirror. Do we keep it? We talked for the rest of 2019. Do we keep it? We talked for the rest of the drive, which, according to the app, should have been 15 minutes, but somehow stretched to 25 because he took a longer route. I didn't mind. I didn't even notice. We talked about technology and isolation, about the difference between being alone and being lonely, about the books we were reading and the shows we were watching. He told me about growing up in Lebanon and moving to the States for college. I told him about growing up in a small town in Oregon and feeling like I never quite fit. When he pulled up to my apartment building, I didn't want to get out. This stranger, this Uber driver I'd known for less than half an hour, had made me feel more seen, more understood than anyone had in months, maybe years. This is you, he said, putting the car in park. Yeah. I unbuckled my seatbelt but didn't move. Thanks for the conversation. It was really nice. It was. He turned in his seat to look at me directly, not through the mirror, and the full force of his attention was almost overwhelming. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you happy? The question caught me completely off guard. What? Are you happy? With your life, your work, your relationships? Are you happy? I opened my mouth to give the automatic response, the socially acceptable lie. But something about the way he was looking at me, the genuine curiosity and concern in his eyes, made me tell the truth. No, not really. I'm successful, I guess. I make good money. I'm good at what I do. But I'm not happy. I feel like I'm waiting for my life to start, you know? Like I'm in the waiting room of my own existence. He nodded slowly, like I'd confirmed something he'd suspected. I thought so. I could see it in you. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's felt the same way. He was quiet for a moment. Then he did something that changed everything. He pulled out his phone, tapped a few times and said, I just cancelled the fare. What? Why? Because this conversation was worth more than $12.37. Because I think you needed to talk to someone who actually listened. Because I wanted to. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face, made him look younger, more vulnerable. And because I'd like to give you my number, and it felt weird to do that while you're paying me. My heart was hammering in my chest. You want to give me your number? If you want it. No pressure. But I'd like to continue this conversation sometime. Maybe over coffee. Or dinner. Or literally anything that's not me driving you home from a bar. I stared at him, trying to process what was happening. This beautiful, intelligent, fascinating man wanted to see me again. Wanted my number. In case you didn't. I mean, in case you didn't. I mean, in case you weren't. Michael. He said my name softly, kindly. I'm gay too. That's why I'm asking. Oh. I felt my face flush hot. Oh. Okay. Yes, I want your number. I want to get coffee, or dinner, or anything. I absolutely want that. He grinned and handed me his phone. Put your number in. I did, my hands shaking slightly. I handed it back and he immediately texted me so I'd have his number. My phone buzzed in my pocket. There, he said. Now you can't escape me. I don't want to escape you. The words came out more honest than I'd intended, more vulnerable. But I didn't take them back. Something shifted in his expression, a softness around his eyes. Good. Because I haven't been able to stop looking at you since you got in my car, and I've been trying to figure out how to extend this ride without seeming like a creep. I laughed, relief and excitement flooding through me. You're not a creep. You're the best thing that's happened to me in a really long time. We just met. I know, but it's true. We sat there for another moment, neither of us wanting to break the connection. Finally, I forced myself to open the door. I should go. Text me when you get inside. It's like 20 feet. I know. Text me anyway. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. Okay. I walked to my building, unlocked the door, and turned back to wave. He was still there, watching, making sure I got in safely. I climbed the stairs to my third-floor apartment, unlocked the door, went inside, and immediately pulled out my phone. Inside safely, I texted. Good. Are you free tomorrow? Came his immediate response. Yes. Coffee at 10. There's a place called Ristretto on Couch Street. I know it. I'll be there. It's a date then. I stared at those 4 words for a long time. It's a date. I was going on a date with the most interesting person I'd met in years. A person who saw me, really saw me, in the space of a 20-minute car ride. I barely slept that night. I kept replaying our conversation, analyzing every word, every glance, every smile. I kept checking my phone, hoping he'd text again, and feeling ridiculous for being so eager. But he did text, around 2 in the morning. Can't sleep. Keep thinking about our conversation, about you. My heart did something complicated in my chest. Me too. This is crazy, right? We just met. The best things usually are. Crazy, I mean. The best things are usually a little bit crazy. We texted until almost 4 in the morning, about everything and nothing, about our families and our fears and our dreams, about what we wanted from life and why we felt so stuck. He told me about coming out to his traditional parents and the years of rebuilding that relationship. I told him about growing up closeted in a small town, about the isolation that became so familiar. It felt like home. I never talk about this stuff, I texted. I don't know why it's so easy with you. Because we recognize something in each other. Because sometimes you meet someone and it just fits. The conversation flows. The silences are comfortable. You don't have to perform or pretend. You can just be. Is that your philosophy thesis talking? No, that's my heart talking. Big difference. I fell asleep with my phone in my hand, smiling like an idiot. The next morning I woke up at 8, gave myself 2 hours to get ready for a coffee date that was 15 minutes from my apartment. I changed shirts 4 times. I tried 3 different pairs of jeans. I attempted to do something with my hair before giving up and accepting that it was going to do whatever it wanted, regardless of my input. I arrived at Ristretto at 9:55, too nervous to be fashionably late. He was already there, sitting at a corner table, 2 cups of coffee already ordered. He stood when he saw me, and in the morning light, he was even more striking than I remembered. He was wearing a dark green Henley that brought out the gold in his brown eyes, and when he smiled at me, I felt it in my entire body. You came, he said. Of course I came. Did you think I wouldn't? I was about 60% sure. 30% chance you'd think this was weird and ghost me. 10% chance you'd decide I was a serial killer. And what about you? What are the chances you're a serial killer? Only like 5%. 10% tops. We both laughed, and just like that, the nervousness evaporated. We sat down, and I realized he'd ordered my coffee exactly how I liked it. How did you know? You told me last night, around 3 a.m. You said you liked your coffee with just a little bit of cream, no sugar, because you liked the bitterness but wanted to soften it slightly. You said it was a metaphor for how you approached life. I said that. You were very philosophical at 3 in the morning. I can't believe you remembered. I remember everything you said. He said it simply, like it was obvious, like of course he'd remember every detail of our conversation. We talked for 4 hours. The coffee shop filled up and emptied out around us. We ordered more coffee, then pastries, then sandwiches when we realized it was past lunch and neither of us had eaten. We talked about books and movies and music, about politics and religion, and all the things you're supposed to avoid on first dates. But it never felt heavy or argumentative. Even when we disagreed, it felt like exploration, like we were both genuinely interested in understanding the other person's perspective. At one point, he reached across the table and took my hand. Just picked it up like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Is this okay?" he asked. "Yeah." My voice came out rough. "It's more than okay. I keep wanting to touch you, to make sure you're real. Is that weird?" "No, I feel the same way." We left the coffee shop as the afternoon light was starting to fade. We walked through the neighborhood with no destination in mind, just walking to stay together longer. Our hands found each other again, fingers intertwining, and it felt like the most significant thing I'd ever done. Holding hands with a man in public, not hiding, not ashamed, just existing in the world as exactly who I was. I haven't done this in a long time, I admitted. Dated, I mean. I've been so focused on work, on building my career. I told myself I didn't have time for relationships. And now? Now I think maybe I was just scared. It's easier to be alone than to risk being hurt. He squeezed my hand. I get that. I've done the same thing. Buried myself in school, in driving, in anything that kept me too busy to feel lonely. "When did you know?" I asked. "That you were gay?" "I think I always knew, on some level, but I really accepted it when I was 16. There was this boy in my class, and I couldn't stop thinking about him. Couldn't stop looking at him. I tried to convince myself it was admiration or friendship, but eventually, I had to admit the truth." "What about you?" 13. There was a guy on my soccer team. I told myself I wanted to be him, wanted to be his friend. But really, I just wanted him. Took me another 5 years to actually accept it, though. To say the words out loud. "Do your parents know?" "Yeah." They were okay with it, eventually. It took some time, some adjustment, but they came around. They want me to be happy. "Yours?" "They're still adjusting. It's been 4 years, and they're still adjusting. But they're trying. That's something." We walked until the streetlights came on, until we were both starving and realized we'd been together for almost 8 hours. He walked me back to my apartment, and we stood outside my building, neither of us wanting to say goodbye. "I had the best day," I said. "Me too." He stepped closer, and I could smell his cologne, something woodsy and warm. "Can I kiss you?" Instead of answering, I closed the distance between us and pressed my lips to his. It was soft and tentative at first, then deeper, more certain. His hand came up to cup my face. thumb stroking my cheek, and I felt something inside me unlock. Some part of myself I'd kept carefully guarded, suddenly open and vulnerable, and absolutely terrified. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. "Wow," he whispered. "Yeah, wow. I should go, before I don't want to leave at all. Would that be so bad?" He smiled, pressed one more quick kiss to my lips. "No, but I want to do this right. I want to take my time with you. You're not someone I want to rush." That was 2 months ago. 2 months of coffee dates and long walks and late-night conversations. 2 months of learning each other, of slowly letting down walls and showing the messy, complicated, real parts of ourselves. 2 months of falling in love, though neither of us has said the words yet. He cancelled that Uber fare and told me talking to me was worth more than money. And he was right. What we found in that car, in that random chance encounter, is worth more than anything. It's connection. Real, honest, terrifying, beautiful connection. The thing his thesis is about. The thing we all search for. I still can't believe it happened. That I got into a random Uber and met the person who makes me feel like myself, like the best version of myself, like I'm finally living instead of just existing. Tomorrow I'm going to tell him I love him. I'm terrified, but I'm also certain, because some things you just know. Some people you just recognize. And Cassian, my Uber driver who cancelled the fare, who saw me when I felt invisible, who chose me when I felt unchosen, is my person. I know it the way I know my own name, the way I know the sun will rise, the way I know that sometimes the universe gives you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, in the back seat of a Honda on a Friday night in September.